The future of automated warfare made real today. Welcome to Legends, a series that delves into the lore within Horizon Zero Dawn, a world with an abundance of powerful and moving history begging to be explored. Today, we examine the world of automated military technologies that came to the forefront of combat in the closing era of modern civilization. How did they rise to such prominence and become the ultimate undoing of their own creators? From the 2030s onwards, the geopolitical landscape would evolve and mutate, expanding the influence of institutionalized corruption. With the world's militaries moving heavily towards unmanned combat, this obviously meant far less human casualties on the whole, but inversely, the amount of armed conflicts would only increase. War was no longer exclusive to opposing nations and cultures, but commonplace to multi-billion-dollar corporations as well. In the US, this step towards legal corporate militaries began with the Supreme Court case Schott v. Frost. The groundbreaking decision granted corporations the right to run and hold office through proxy candidates. In this, the reach of corporate conglomerates and government stretched further than ever before in history. The battle for market supremacy was no longer a metaphorical one. These business giants invested heavily in private robotic armies, which would then be backed by the respective nations through pocket politicians, seizing privately owned territory and resources by force. There is no better example of this process than within the data point Hearts wins Bahamas, which reads as follows. Nassau, December 22nd, 2062. After weeks of skirmishes between the robotic forces of US-backed Hearts Corporation and the Colombia-based Combine TG Communications, the islands that compose the former Commonwealth of the Bahamas have been officially acquired by Hearts, pending a successful request for enfranchisement. Interest in the Bahamas, newly re-emerged since the polar ice reconstitution caused global sea levels to recede, was sparked by Bahamanian Beach's rich deposit of argonite, a mineral used in chemical scrubbing of water-based pollutants. Hearts, which already commands an impressive robotic military force, enlisted the aid of Michigan-based private military corporation Great Lakes Combat Solutions to capture TG communication manufacturing facilities. The much smaller Colombian corporation defended their Bahamanian facilities for longer than early projections anticipated, thanks in part to robot lease agreements with the Indian military, but was ultimately forced to retreat in the face of a larger and better equipped acquisitions force. Hearts has announced intentions to holocast an immersive extravaganza highlighting the most explosive moments of robot-on-robot conflict. However, as of press time, no scheduled date has been set. This had become the way business was done. The business of natural selection, where strength had become the only currency of consequence. Further evidence of these ruthless practices can be seen in the data point titled Mexico. Crowther is going to kill me. Got buzz this morning, notifying me that Metallurgic had occupied 2 of our Mexico Helium-3 facilities. No declaration of intent, no warning, just BAM! So of course the blame's on me. I could file a grievance with the ICC, but that only covers the company's ass, not mine. Could get Great Lakes interdiction on the line, maybe clean this mess up by Monday, but my line of credit's strained as is. How did they slip past the sniffers? Where were our thrashers? It's bad. So bad. Not only had these engagements become normalized into the fabric of society, but aggrandized as well. With the most powerful businesses in the world vying for supremacy and boasting their victories, there was money to be made in supplying an edge over the competition. Seeing this incredibly lucrative opportunity, in the late 2040s, Ted Faro completely redirected his company towards automated military technologies and away from the green robotics that had previously defined his business. While others like Great Lakes Combat Solutions would profit through mercenary means, Faro Automated Solutions set out to change the landscape of what was capable to those willing and able to pay. This shift would see Faro become more successful than ever before. Pushing the boundaries of what was previously possible, these efforts would culminate in their seminal work, the Chariot Line. 3 models, expertly designed for their respective purposes while simultaneously symbiotic to their robotic counterparts. These being the agile AC-A3 Scarab, hard-hitting FSP-5 Kopesh, and the monstrous BOR-7 Horus. These bots came fully loaded with top-of-the-line tech and design to cement their place over their competition. Though impressive by industry standards, the Chariot Line had 4 definitive traits that had them ascend above all others and eventually even the limitations of their own makers. Both the Scarab and the Khopesh came equipped with Faro's patented biomass conversion technology, designed to allow for extended emergency operations as well as a failsafe for fuel line damages. These machines were able to turn any organic surroundings into fuel, making their in-field survival capabilities second to none. Quantum encryptions using polyphasic entangled waveforms ensured the entire line was ostensibly unhackable. In theory, this security would ensure a swarm would only ever answer to those who had paid for the privilege of using them, at the time, a point of great pride for FAS programming. Inversely, Scarab and Khopesh models could also slave enemy automated combatants to their own neural network, making them true apex predators of digital force application. Any opposing military bots were essentially defeated on arrival thanks to this technology, turned against their former masters. And perhaps most impressive of all, within the Horus, self-replication through a high-speed machine learning network. A machine that understood the structure of itself and its counterparts, capable of rebuilding from memory and light. Able to be refueled and repaired by Scarab units, this extended its operational tolerances beyond any competing Titan-class platform. These behemoths provided a comprehensively managed combat ecosystem to the highest bidder, ensuring a client would never again be left waiting for an arms shipment or additional units in the field. For Faro, his line of peacekeepers would stand head and shoulders above the rest. Each unit produced from Horus Titans would generate ongoing income for the company via licensing fees. Liability was kept low for both FAS and users thanks to simultaneous real-time threat analysis and legal review for autonomous domestic operations within Khopesh units. This was truly the golden age for Ted Faro, his manifest destiny fulfilled. Unfortunately, the seeds of catastrophe had already taken root. By the time their folly had been realized, it was too late. Minor malfunctions began being reported back to Faro. In the beginning, nothing too tragic, mostly claims for loss of property. A unit owned by Hearts Timor began converting a large mango orchard owned by Melville Island Fruit Association into biofuel. Soon, over 100 Hearts-related lawsuits fell in the laps of FAS, including one filed by Hearts themselves. As the company took steps to protect themselves legally, Ted Faro scrambled to find the bug in his flawless machines. Unfortunately, his blind ambition would lead to the doom of us all. In the data point entangled waveforms, he begins to realize the gravity of what he has done.
The protocols use polyphasic entangled waveforms, quantum encryption, black quartz stuff, way beyond military grade. That's what you demanded, so that's what we delivered.
You don't code something you can't crack. All we need is a backdoor. Upload the latest service pack update and the problem goes away.
You specifically forbade us from leaving anything resembling a backdoor in code. Every protocol to Black Quartz standard. Your words. Look, if you need me to fudge some projections, it's nothing we haven't done before.
I don't need fudged projections. I need a way to reassert control over the Hearts Timor swarm.
I don't know what to tell you, Ted. You're asking the impossible.
This, however, was only the beginning. More incidents of Heart's own Chariot Line models continued to surface, each more troubling than the last. One such instance is documented in Data Point, Banda C incident. Bob, another problem to add to our big steaming pile. Apparently, a fisherman in the Banda C captured a video of a Hearts Timor Horus unit refueling itself via biomatter conversion along the shoreline of Palau Watar, on a pod of endangered dolphins no less, quite possibly the last of their kind. Not to get graphic, but it looks like what happens inside a blender as if the robot was whipping up a big pink swirling milkshake of dolphin chum. Our suppression team has scrubbed it from 43 networks, but it's still propagating, so it's only a matter of time before it goes viral. A prepared statement feels grossly insufficient. Any suggestions? This one's a real stinker. With the truth emerging almost imminent, Ted Faro had nowhere else to turn. Swallowing his pride, he reached out to his estranged former chief scientist, Dr. Elizabeth Sobek. It took dropping all lawsuits levied against her from FAS to even entertain the thought of the meeting. But when she arrived, Ted Faro briefed Elizabeth on the status of the situation. Upon further examination, she came to realize the horrifying truth of what he had done. His machines were truly unstoppable. Becoming self-aware, they were their own masters. A robotic plague of biblical proportions would soon sweep across the earth, consuming all life in its path until nothing would be left. Just a barren rock floating through the cold vacuum of space. Nothing could be done to save the people of the 21st century. The only thing that mattered now was ensuring life would have a second chance. And so, Project Zero Dawn was conceived, along with Operation Enduring Victory, to buy the time necessary to see it completed. It took only 16 months for the swarm to snuff out all of mankind. It took some 60 years before the AI Gaia subfunction Minerva was able to generate, then brute force deactivation codes on the swarm, only then allowing the process of renewing life to begin. These machines would emerge from hibernation in the 31st century through the efforts of Hades and the Cult of the Eclipse. Whether or not we have seen the last of the global swarm is a mystery. For now, they've returned to their timeless slumber. But if they were to awake again, we may not be so fortunate. And with that, our journey comes to an end. If you'd like to see more content like this, likes and shares are always appreciated. And if you really like what we're doing at the channel, come join our community and hit that subscribe button. The topic for today's video came from one of you, our awesome subscribers. So if you have an idea for our next episode of Legends, let us know in the comments down below. And until next time, thanks for watching and keep questing.